Little part 2 here on the L8T swap. It's all done. How about that? Actually, I finished it last summer. Started last summer, finished it in the fall, and just kind of now gotten around to putting some videos and stuff together. But I'm going to talk about everything that was a little bit different than I originally thought it was in my part 1. One of those being, I wish I would have done the Aero Tank filler neck that Aero Tank offers with these 32-gallon tanks. It would have been just way easier. It would have just bolted in and been done instead of having to kind of finagle some stuff. So if you're doing this, do that, or just an Aero Tank in general. Also, I put in a like a 10 micron inline fuel pump or fuel filter. The fuel pump has a, I don't know what micron filter it has in it, but I figured a little extra would be good, especially with the direct injection, and I had to drill a hole in the top of the fuel tank. So I hooked the fuel tanks together. So the one that's in the cab, I have it hooked to the one in the back. I'm not using the tank in the cab, but eventually when I do, I'll put a little valve in there so I can just drain the tank in the cab into the one in the rear, and that'd give me 51 gallons, which, you know, that's gonna be a lot for this truck. One of the biggest challenges I had was getting the mechanical clutch to work. I might end up converting it to hydraulic because I don't really love the clutch feel, but that Z-bar was a bugger. You can see the exhaust manifold coming down. Man, was not super fun. I might have to take a video on all that because it was just horrendous. But had to cut, weld, massage, etc. And it does work. The pedal is pretty soft. I think that Ford and GM must get their leverage from different spots, and that I basically combined the two. So the pedal is quite soft, even though the clutch itself is not aggressive, but it's not, you know, it's not for a Honda Civic. The bearing retainer index reducer, that's a mouthful. But basically it makes you be able to use the bell housing that I use on this, that transmission had to be ground down in a couple spots to accept the clutch fork being able to move. So that took me forever to get that right, not do too much. And yeah, probably had the wrong tools also, but whatever. So then actually on the engine side, for engine mounts, what I ended up doing was I used a plate, which you're not gonna be able to see, but it's down there. I used the whatever cheapest plate I could find with shipping on the internet. It's just a flat plate, bolts to the block, and then I used FE mounts, so from like a 76-ish Ford, call it, and they fit in that tower right there, and then basically I just welded that to the plate. Worked pretty good. I wish I would have used, I later on saw some 460 mounts that kind of, for lack of a better term, swivel, which would have probably worked a little bit better, but you know, whatever. Then over here on the harness, Swap Time USA harness worked out super awesome. Mitch was great. The only issue I had was with this fuse block right here. And you see that monstrosity, whatever that is? There is a main power stud right there, which I guess normally he used to sell or send a like a 3D printed cover, but this is an old fuse box. He's not even sure how I got it, but I did, and that grounded out on the frame, which melted a relay, etc. I got it to work. It hasn't had an issue since, but I need to have a more permanent solution than that. So, other than that, getting the engine to actually run wasn't too bad. I had a bad driver's side injector harness. It was bad out of the box, so I had to replace that. I changed it so that it's more of like a 14-15 GM motor style, and that just makes it happier with the manual transmission because obviously an L8T never came with a manual, though it should, in my opinion. I also had to change the mass airflow sensor over there, the throttle body, and the coolant sensor, temp sensor to like a 14-15 style so that it would work. I mounted the ECU over here in a PSI Conversions, I think is the name of the company. Mounted it right there, worked really good, and overall really happy with that. For the cooling, factory rad and shroud, and then that is a fan clutch and fan from a 5.4 Triton. So like a late 90s, early 2000s Ford. So it's got some Ford parts, everybody. Be happy about that. Rad hoses, the lower hose, I had to use a bunch of 90s and aluminum and this and that and whatever, and I got it to snake over there and it works fine. For the upper hose, the top piece there is from a 70 Chevelle with a small block, and then that's an ICT billet adapter with a port for steam port. And so then that reduces down, and I use a cut up factory hose on top. So that was really good and actually quite easy. But kind of overall, that's about it. A few things I want to do different. I need to keep tuning it. I need to have Mitch at Swap Time tune it, or maybe somebody else, but Mitch seems to do a pretty good job. When he first kind of did the initial tune on it, clutch was brand new and it would slip a little bit. It wasn't adjusted exactly right, my fault. But it wasn't adjusted all the way right, so it would slip a little bit when you'd give it some throttle. They told me I need to put like 1,000 miles on this clutch, which sounds like a lot, but you know, we're creeping up on that, and then we'll get it all tuned where I can actually stand on it. But I might eventually put electric fans in it too. I mean, that 5.4 Triton fan's really cool, works really good with the factory shroud and stuff, but this sucker does not want to get warm. Part of that could have been that it was 30 below zero this winter. I don't know, maybe. But I think that having an electric fan would just be kind of nicer and you know, would help the heater come on sooner and things like that. Part of the tuning also, I might install a vehicle speed sensor. This does not have one. I think I would get a little bit better drivability with that. Right now in third gear, if you're just lugging it, especially when the motor's cold, it almost acts like it's got too big of a cam. It wants to kind of buck and if you give it a little bit of throttle, it goes away, or if you back off, it goes away. But there's just kind of a window where it doesn't like it. And I don't know if it's tuning. I don't know if it's the speed sensor, or lack of a speed sensor. I'm not sure, but I want to get that ironed out. I need to adjust the gas pedal, throttle pedal also. Not super happy with that. It's expertly mounted, but you can see where my boots hit up here. Don't really care for that. So I need to move that up. Holley makes a pedal that I really like. The look of it seems a lot more like a factory looking, you know, like older vehicle pedal, but they're a little spendy. So maybe somebody send this to Holley and tell them that I'm a nice guy and stuff. Anyway, I think that's about it. Lots to do left. It's, you know, it's a project, but it's been a lot of fun. And really, the actual like engine swap itself was not super difficult. Like, it fits in here great. Tons of power. It will surprise you, and you better be at least 85% sure that the road is not wet when you go to stomp on it, because she will get broadside in the middle of the highway. Ask me how I know. So anyway, probably more to come. Thanks for watching.